In this video, we are going to have a look at the Laowa 9mm T2.9 Zero-D lens, and also why I think this is one of the most kind-hearted cine lens in the market. Kia ora, good morning everyone, Richard Wong here, welcome back to the channel. So we are going to have a look at the new Laowa cine lens. Today this is the 9mm T2.9 Zero-D lens. Well, this is technically not a 100% brand new lens because this lens is largely based on the Laowa 9mm f2.8 Zero-D lens that was released a few years ago, but Laowa just gave it some cine upgrade treatment, so this is now a brand new release. For some reason, even though I have reviewed lots of Laowa lenses in the past, I have never reviewed the original photo version of that 9mm f2.8 Zero-D lens. So in this video, we are going to have a look at the image quality of this lens, as well as what kind of cine upgrade treatment Laowa has done to this new release. Before we start the review, I want to mention one thing, which is the price of this lens. Quite often, cine lenses equal to very expensive lens. Even if the optical formula of some cine lens is pretty much exactly the same as the photo version, the price of the cine version lens quite often is a lot more expensive. Quite often you see cine version is like double the price of the photo version. Some people just call it a cine lens tax, but this is quite common for most of the cine lens in the market. But this time, this Laowa lens, first thing is it does share the same optical formula as the photo version, but the price of this lens, instead of being like double the price or like 50% more than the photo version, Laowa only charged $100 more than the photo version. So this cine version is only $599 compared to the photo version, which is $499. And not only that, this cine version also comes in a pelican case, and this is a real pelican case. This is not like a knockoff cheap version. This is the real pelican 1150 case. This case, I think the retail price is around $40 US. If you take this into consideration, and also some of the changes that Laowa has made to the lens, which I'm going to talk about very soon, I think the price is very reasonable, and it's probably one of the most kind-hearted cine lens in the market. And I want to talk about the case a little bit more. I really love this case. It is very nice, very good quality, and it definitely can protect the lens very well when you put it inside the case. However, I do wonder whether people actually will use it to carry the lens with them, because while this is quite a compact case, it is still quite a bit bigger than the lens itself. And also, you can only put one lens in this case, even though technically you can probably like cut out some more hole here to put another lens, but because the way how they cut out the form for the lens, they put it right near the center of it. So if you want to cut another hole if you want to put another lens or another accessory there is not too much space. So I think in reality you can only carry one lens in this case. So I think it'd be great if Laowa actually shift the cutout slightly to one side. For example, if they make the cutout maybe around here, then that will leave enough space for you to put another lens on this side. Then you can carry at least two lenses. That will make this case a lot more practical. But this is just a small suggestions. Otherwise, I really love having a case for this cine lens. Okay, now let's have a look at the build quality and design of this lens. This lens is designed for APS-C and micro four thirds cameras, so it is available in the Sony E mount, Fuji X mount, and also the micro four thirds. The one I have here is for micro four thirds. But even though it is designed for both APS-C and micro four thirds, the size of this lens is still pretty compact. Look at it, it is quite a small lens, and also the weight is just under 250 grams, so it is very lightweight despite it is pretty much purely metal construction. In terms of the build quality, it feels very solid, very nice. Compared to the photo version, it feels a little bit more premium and also a little bit more solid as well. One of the biggest difference between the Cine version and the photo version, you might spot it already, is that both the focus ring and the aperture ring, maybe I should call it the iris ring, they both have the 0.8 module gear on it, and that is to allow you to use the standard focus puller if you want to adjust the focus or the iris smoothly using a focus puller. And I set the iris ring instead of the aperture ring that most photo lens would use, because for Cine lenses we usually rate them using T-stop instead of f-stop. The T-stop number is an accurate figure that tells you the light transmittance through the lens at that particular setting. For filmmaker, having an accurate exposure is a lot more important than the depth of field, especially when you are shooting with different lenses and different camera. You want to be able to match the exposure from different footage easily, and it is a lot harder to adjust the exposure in post-processing compared to the still photos. So for this lens, the maximum T-stop is T2.9, which the number is slightly bigger than the f2.8 for the photo version. And that doesn't mean the maximum aperture of this lens is different to the photo version. It's just when you measure the actual light transmittance, usually it would be slightly slower than what the f figure would tell you. The iris ring itself is very smooth and it is declicked as you would expect for a Cine lens. The travel is quite short, only around 45 degrees. Actually, I think it's less than 45 degrees. For the focus ring, it is also very smooth and the total travel is around 90 degrees from the minimum focus distance, which is 0.12 meter, which is very close to infinity. One thing I definitely want to see is a few more markings on the focus distance. While there are quite a few markings from the near the minimum focus size 0.12, 0.2, and then it goes up to 0.5 meter, and then the next marking is infinity. So I understand that this is a wide angle lens, so the depth of field is pretty deep, so maybe you don't need very accurate focus distance marking on it, but I would still prefer to see maybe one or two marking near the far distance side, maybe something around 1 meter or 2 meter or maybe a 5 meter marking, and that would just allow filmmaker to set the focus more precisely. And I think also a slightly longer travel for the focus ring would also be quite good, but at the same time Laowa is trying to make the price of this lens as affordable as possible. That's why they are just trying to reuse a lot of parts and design. Just want to share it with the photo version, and that's why they didn't completely redesign the focus ring and also the iris ring for this Cine version, because if you do that, that would increase the development cost and probably the production cost as well. If you consider that, I think this is an acceptable trade-off. And another thing that is different from the photo version is the filter thread on this lens is 55mm compared to the slightly smaller 49mm filter thread on the photo version. Okay, now let's have a look at the image quality and start with the sharpness. The center sharpness of this lens is very good at wide open. Let's zoom in and look at this picture. Even at 200% zoom, you can see the picture is already very sharp when taking the photo at T2.9. When I stop down the lens, the center sharpness only increased very marginally. And if we now look at the corner sharpness, at T2.9 the corner is slightly soft. If I stop down to T4, the corner sharpness improved a little bit, but the maximum sharpness seems to be around T5.6 to T8. In terms of distortion, Laowa called it a Zero-D lens, which means there is very little distortion. And if you look at my sample photos, indeed there is very small amount of distortion. Even look at this brick wall photo. Chromatic aberration is pretty well controlled. Even when I go through all my sample photos and videos, when I look at those that I shot with very high contrast, even the one that I shot at wide open, I see very little amount of color fringing. Lens flare control I think overall is average. While most of the photos and samples I don't see much lens flare or ghosting at all, but for those I especially shoot into the sun or some really bright light source, I do see quite a bit of lens flare or ghosting. Having said that, the overall contrast still remains pretty good even when I'm directly shooting into the sun. The lens doesn't come with any lens hood, so you may have to rely on the additional matte box if you want to reduce the amount of lens flare when you are shooting video. There is a small amount of vignetting when you're shooting at wide open, but once you stop down to T4, then the vignetting is already barely noticeable. So overall, this Laowa 9mm Cine lens vignetting control is very good. For a Cine lens, focus breathing or lack of focus breathing is very important. With this Laowa 9mm Cine lens, there is a very small amount of focus breathing. You may notice it if you change your focus from, like say, the minimum focus distance to infinity very quickly, but under normal usage, the focus breathing is not really noticeable. This Laowa 9mm T2.9 Zero-D Cine lens is another nice addition to the Laowa lens family. Optical wise, I think apart from lens flare, which I definitely would like to see it slightly better controlled, other than that, I think everything else is pretty decent, and I really like how compact this lens is. The relative short travel for both the focus ring and the iris ring, and also the limited number of focus distance markings on the focus ring might disappoint some filmmaker who want to have very precise control of the lens, but consider this lens is mainly targeting filmmaker doing small budget production. I think these are some acceptable trade-off. This lens is great for filmmakers who want to capture some wide-angle shot but with very minimal distortion. I have also tried shoot some handheld video footage by putting the camera on a gimbal, and because the lens has the geared focus and the iris ring, I can just easily attach a focus puller onto the gimbal and use that to control the focus, so I can adjust the focus very smoothly from the gimbal myself. And apart from the generic filmmaking, I think this lens is also very suitable for vlogging as well. Because of its compact size and the lightweight when you put it onto the camera, the total package together is very lightweight and very small, so that makes it great for doing vlogging. And also because of the very wide field of view, when you hold the camera with the lens attached, you don't even need to fully extend your arm or use a gorilla pod. Even just holding the camera yourself using the hand and hold the camera like this, the view angle is already wide enough so that your face doesn't actually cover up the whole frame, which is something I personally really don't like when I'm doing vlogging. And because you don't need to fully extend your arm, and also the lens is quite lightweight, holding the camera for a long time is still relatively easy. And also this wide angle but not super ultra wide angle means that when you are rotating, panning the camera around, the side of the footage doesn't have any crazy distortion or spinning effect that you may have compared to some of the much wider ultra wide angle lens. So because of that, I think this lens is probably one of the best lenses in the market if you want to shoot some vlogging, especially if you want to do some travel vlogging. If you ask me to choose between the Cine version and the original photo version, I think I would be happy to pay the extra $100 and get this Cine version. This Cine version just have better build quality and it looks a lot more professional, and also when I want to shoot some video, I can put it on the gimbal, for example, and put the follow focus, and that will allow me to adjust the focus smoothly. And I just love that pelican case, which looks so nice and very nice quality, even though I don't really know I'll be carrying it with me a lot or not. But that is just my opinion. So I would love to hear which one would you choose. Would you want to just go for the slightly cheaper original photo version or the new slightly more expensive Cine version?